Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. The SNP are being urged to scrap the low emission zones because they aren't anything to do with low emissions. The air quality in Scotland is actually quite good, and in fact nowhere actually breaks any of the internationally agreed limits. These are not being brought in because of air quality, they are being brought in because the SNP needs to control you. It's all the push for the 15-minute cities. That's what they like to call them. What they're really known as is ghettos. Think the Warsaw Ghetto, things like that. They don't want you to be able to travel. They don't want you having cars. They want to make it as difficult as possible for you to leave the area in which they decide you need to be. It is an utter lie. With Scotland's got very, very clean air, and there is no requirement for these LEZs as they're known. That's the American term. I do dislike the Z, but that's how it came in. Now, the problem they have is they can't justify them because, like I say, the air quality isn't bad enough. So it isn't the environment, and it is power and control. But you wouldn't expect anything less from the SNP. They demand total control over every aspect of your life. Let's have a look at this article. So the SNP have been told to scrap the pointless and unnecessary low emission zones as pollution is already low in Scottish cities. With a new £60 fine set to come into force in Glasgow within days, new evidence has shown that Scotland's cities do not have a problem with air quality. But of course this was never an issue about air quality. This was always an issue about control. The backlash against SNP's low emission zones in Scotland's four largest cities is growing, with new evidence showing that air quality is excellent. Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen and Dundee all have low emission zones in place to ban older cars from the city centre, with Glasgow set to start levelling automatic £60 fines on June the 1st. The three other cities will follow in just 12 months' time. The Scottish Daily Express has already revealed that air quality in central Glasgow has been dramatically improved this year, with campaigners putting it down to cleaner, greener buses. Indeed, one of the worst polluters going are buses and lorries, way more than cars. Cars burn lean, but these big, heavy engines that they have in buses and in lorries are horrendously damaging. But you won't get them moaning about that. They keep pushing the bus. But it isn't it isn't the cars that's the problem. It is the buses that they keep pushing. But also the fact that you don't need to worry about it because your air is actually very, very clean. Now, research by the Mail on Sunday has discovered a similar picture in other cities as well, with official analysis at every monitoring site in the low emission zones showing a green rating for harmful particles. In other words, clean air. There is no requirement for any kind of low emission zone. This is not being put in because there's an issue with emissions and air quality. This, of course, is completely about control. They want to make it more difficult for the oiks and the hoi polloi to travel out of the area they've been designated to remain in. We're talking total Stalinist control. But then, this is the SNP. They're as far left as you can possibly get. Anyway, crucially, nitrogen dioxide levels, the main pollutant cited by Glasgow and Edinburgh councils as the reason for introducing their low emission zones, also fell within legal limits last year in all four city centres. Commercial weathering monitoring sites, meanwhile, rate the air quality in all the locations involved as excellent. So we need to ask the SNP, why are they introducing this? Why are they pushing this in when the air quality is truly excellent and that there is no need nor requirement for it outside of their demand to have complete control on the people? Scottish Conservative Transport spokesman Graham Simpson said, if air quality in our major cities is within legal limits or even excellent, it can logically mean only one of two things. Either the levels are inadequate or the low emission zones are unnecessary window dressing. They're not window dressing, they're deliberate. This is all part of a push for, the 15-minute cities. All this where you will stay where you're put, you will live in your zone, you will not travel out and mix with the elite. The elite want all the poor people kept over there in their little cages. That's what this is. And this is why the low traffic neighbourhoods are brought in, to make it more difficult for people to drive out of these zones. They block roads and things like that. It is all to do with control and kettling and containment. One environmental expert, who did not wish to be named, told the paper measures taken over the past decade or so, such as the introduction of electric buses, have led to pollution targets being met and indeed exceeded. The introduction of further low emission zones is now therefore pointless. Now this is an expert. No one in government is an expert on anything. But when you're getting the experts telling you that it's pointless because it will not reduce the air quality or the pollution in the air anymore, you cannot improve the air quality anymore, why are you bringing it in other than control? He says Colin Smith, Chief Executive of the Scottish Wholesale Association, said the low emission zones are affecting our members who can't get costly replacement vehicles, and end users such as pubs, clubs and restaurants in the city centres all need to be supplied. If emission levels are already low, then the question would have to be, do we need this? And the answer is obviously no, you don't. But this is not about need. This is about desire, the desire of the SNP. We would like a pause on implementation of low emission zones to give businesses further time to adjust. Glasgow City Council said it is likely a large part of the drop in air pollution levels is due to the improvement in emissions from the city's bus fleet, given the introduction in the first phase of our low emission zone in 2018. And that's fine. And you've got all these electric buses now, and your air quality has gone from crap to brilliant. So it goes to show that the problem was never cars. The problem was always buses. Transport Minister Kevin Stewart said it is welcome news that LEZs are already having a positive impact on air quality ahead of wider enforcement. It's not the low emission zone that's had the impact. That's a lie. That is straight out turning everything on its head and lying to try and justify what they're doing. It is the electric buses that have done that. It is not the low emission zone. This has got nothing to do with low emission zones. It's the buses, the dirty, fiery, diesel engine buses that pump out the crap from the back end. You've taken all of them off the road, you put electric buses on, and wow, look, the air quality is now excellent. Well done you. Now, move on. You don't need a low emission zone. What you're doing this for is your own benefit, your own control desires. That's all. It's a circle jerk of power up in Holyrood, and it needs to stop, and people need to reject it. And so I will round off that and come up. It is quite clear, even to a blind man could see this, that those low emission zones are now no longer needed. The problem just isn't there, and they are going to damage businesses, they're going to damage the economy, they're going to impact on people's ability to travel. It is pointless, needless and damaging, and it is purely done for control. There is no requirement for it. But this is the SNP. This is another one of those, let's introduce a policy without looking at consequences. Either that, or it was deliberately done for control purposes for the 15-minute cities. Either way, it has to be rejected, and people involved, everyone in these cities that has these things needs to vote. Doesn't matter who the party is, but it needs to vote for a party that promises to get rid of these zones. Whoever stands there and says we're getting rid of this low emission zone, we're not going to put excess pressure onto people, because remember, this really only affects the poor, because the rich can just buy a better car, a newer car, a car that meets the standards. It's the poor, the ones who don't have the wherewithal to change their car, to upgrade or whatever. So what they're effectively doing is punishing people for being unable to change their car. They're punishing the poor, and they're keeping the poor down. That's what this is. This is absolutely the most awful bloody idea. And I hope everybody in Glasgow, in Edinburgh, in Dundee and in Aberdeen rejects it and votes elsewhere, and sends the message to the SNP that this is no. We're not having it, we don't want it, and you're out. And once that happens, the people that go in know exactly what the people want, and they don't want to be kettled, controlled and told to stay in their lane. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, enjoy your freedom while you still got it, and goodbye.